today is Women's Day. What does it mean to you?
Well, it means that we're doing this to remind people of how dire the situation is. Everybody will be aware of the crisis around gang violence. We're aware of that because it plays out in our streets. There are people running, young men running with guns in the streets. The entire community is in upheaval. But possibly as many murders are happening as a consequence of unchecked domestic violence, where a situation brewed over time, a man or a boyfriend, a husband, maybe even a son started exhibiting abusive behavior, and that behavior went unchecked early and ended up in a murder.
Absolutely.
So there is one area where the police can do meaningful murder prevention, and that's checking in and making sure you give effective implementation to our very good Domestic Violence Act. That on paper is great, but in practice is not given the implementation, and a lot of that has got to do with a massive under-resourcing of the police in South Africa. We have around between a half and a third of the police on the ground that we need. And the net consequence of that is that just from where I sit in the city, I can see we've gone from 2,000 complaints a year on domestic violence to 3 to 4, and in the last 100 days alone, the Metro Police have responded to over 3,000 complaints. Now that's 35 complaints a day. So out there, women have realized that the city will help, that we're available to help, that we care about this problem. And if they call our emergency call center number, not only will we answer in the first 10 seconds, but we will send somebody to help. So in the last year, Metro Police have done 809 interventions, 112 arrests, 170 domestic violence cases open, and we're stepping up on 1 September to do even more, with 5 officers a ward in every ward of the city being rolled out, and that is going to help a lot to ensure that when you make that phone call as a woman, in that moment of extreme need, that we are there to help, that we are responsive, and that there's a Metro Police officer responding to that crisis and coming to help.
Yeah, you know, JP, what you speak about is so interesting, because we know that National Police Service has failed us. It has failed women and it has failed communities. But here in Cape Town, you're trying to assist the problem as much as you can with LEAP officers. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the LEAP officer program assists communities?
Absolutely. So while national government has failed to invest in the police, and I was just now in Manenberg before this with the project, with their Silence the Guns project, whilst they have left these police stations with far too few staff to respond. In the city of Cape Town, we're lucky. Our provincial government invested in 1,300 law enforcement officers to help us. In our worst crime hotspots in the city, we have these extra LEAP members. And they're also intervening in the domestic violence complaints. And now with the extra Metro Police, 750 extra officers getting into joining us on 9 September, that's going to make a further investment. So where the DA governs, we are stepping up to fill that gap that national government has left.
So important. It's very unfortunate that you have to fill a gap that should already be filled. Now, JP, you spoke about violence within communities, and a lot of the social issues deal with mental health. Is your department looking at assisting to make sure that our societies are healed with trauma?
Absolutely. So while we have trained these new Metro Police officers very intensively to make sure that they understand the Domestic Violence Act, and the statistics show you that they are understanding what they need to do and are playing their part when they are called upon to step up. We're also working with communities. So our Metro Police has a social crime prevention unit that is going out and talking at schools about the choices that you make, about a young man's role and his family as a protector, about the choices around drugs, firearms, and peer pressure and gangs. All these things impact and create a culture where violence against vulnerable people is tolerated. And we're working to reverse that in all these cases. That includes the extraordinary people who join our law enforcement reservist service. We have just in Manenberg now, we had a whole number of our reservists who were there, amazing people, here from Gugulethu, from Manenberg, who are working as law enforcement reservists. Cape Town is still the only city in South Africa that has a reserve police service.
Yeah, that's incredible, JP, and the work that you guys are doing here in Cape Town seems to be really, really incredible, to really make a difference in people's lives. Now, JP, we saw a case, I'm not sure if you saw it, in Johannesburg, where a 4-year-old little girl was murdered and the community didn't say anything. Instead, they recorded the incident. What would you say to communities out there to be brave and report crime?
Well, if you want communities to trust that you are going to do something with information, you must not expose them. So this is the first problem, that within the police, very often communities don't trust to give that information. And so one of the things we are doing very meticulously in Cape Town is making sure that our officers do not expose informants. We take serious action against anybody who exposes an informant, and we take complaints seriously. We deal with those complaints, and we make sure that there's action on those tip-offs. And over time, that begets a culture where people will give us information all the time.
Absolutely.
That's critical. But equally big, the problem, whether it be gun violence or domestic violence, is the complete overload of detectives. So in this province, we know that we're 35% short on the number of detectives we need. And as a consequence of that, those detectives are so overloaded that they cannot do justice to these investigations. And until national government steps up, Minister of Police steps up and fixes that, women and communities are going to carry on suffering.
JP, I don't want to keep you for too long, but I'm really enjoying this conversation. I wanted to please ask you, we have an interim police minister coming in. What is your message for him and what do you hope he does?
Okay, Minister, we want to work with you. We signed a cooperation agreement a year ago. It's a year later now. That cooperation agreement is still not translated into the so-called implementation agreement. We're still not done with that. We have pleaded repeatedly for progress. Mayor Jordan Lewis wrote to the new minister, the acting minister, and asked for a meeting. So we want to meet with you soon so we can get to the point where Metro Police has those additional powers of investigation and crime intelligence so we can do the work that needs to be done where SAPS does no longer have the ability.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I let you go, JP, what is your message to all the women and everybody watching the broadcast right now?
We care. This party, the DA, cares. Our city of Cape Town cares. Our provincial government in the Western Cape cares. And we want to help. And we're not just saying that. It's not empty words. We have put our money where our mouth is. We've added value to it. We've stepped up, whether it's through the LEAP officers or through the extra Metro Police officers that are coming in September. We're creating that capacity. Use our call centre number if you live in Cape Town. Call the 021-480-7700. There will be a response and we want to help.
JP, can you give us that number one more time?
021-480-7700.
DA at Work.